Today is 2 August. It's Sunday. I'm Charlie Garrett. This is the CG Prophecy Report. Trump, the Counter-Revolutionist. That and a lot of other things to go over on today's report. I got some news from Israel here, from Defense News. Before I do that, I want to thank the Lord for all the rain we've been getting. We were so dry for so long, and we have got a system that's been sitting off the coast now almost 2 weeks, and it's been bringing daily rains. Today, it's been just pouring, and we're going to get more, they say, all week. Thank the Lord for that. Okay, Defense News. Israel's IAI unveils hypnosis system for confusing enemy drone swarms. IAI has unveiled a new air defense system designed to jam and spoof the satellite navigation signals that guide aerial threats. The system, called Hypnosis, consists of an array of mobile stations around a defended area working in unison to disrupt the command and control signals of incoming threats, according to the manufacturer. The tech is the product of IAI's experience in navigation warfare, or also known as NAVWAR. The soft kill weapon is meant as a method for taking out large numbers of drones at once in situations where hard kill or kinetic intercepts would be tricky to execute because of the number of airborne objects. The unveiling comes amid a resurgence of military confrontation between the U.S. and Iran, and heightened tension across the Middle East as a result of it, as well as an intensifying exchange of missile and drone strikes between Russia and Ukraine. Defense companies around the world have been working on technology enabling swarms of drones to attack targets in an inherent logic of their own. Similarly, companies are also chasing defense offerings for such scenarios. Swarms are difficult to defend against because they can saturate and overwhelm traditional air defense networks, increasing the chances of at least one warhead making it through. I don't know. I could not find anything out on this, if that takes care of the drones that have the cable that follows them. It does not. Okay, so got a retired colonel over here, and that was retired, not, yeah. Anyway, got a retired colonel over here, and he says it's not, but I'm sure Israel will be able to figure something out, like sending out a pair of scissors to snip that or something. I don't know, whatever. Just so you know, I think everybody's awake and has already checked the news today, but the attack that was promised on Iran has been put on hold. The Saudis got involved. They said they don't want to do this if possible. And I'm not sure the reason why. Maybe Iran, I couldn't find all of the information on it this morning, but maybe Iran seized the cards because it was said that Israel was going to participate in this again. And you get Israel in there, they're not going to be as, restrictive as Trump is. They're just going to go in and take care of business. And so that may be the reason. But right now there is a halt on things. That may change in 10 minutes with Iran, because they say, we want peace, and then they send a bomb to somebody, right? No, they're just total liars. All right, from all Israel, Israeli Navy continues buildup with 5 new amphibious landing ships amid growing threats from the Turkey Houthis. The Israeli Navy has always been the most overlooked and underfunded of Israeli military's 3 branches. But the escalating threats of the multi-front war have made a quick buildup more necessary than ever. The Defense Ministry recently purchased 5 Triton boats, which are amphibious landing craft capable of quickly transporting soldiers, vehicles, and logistical equipment to the enemy shores as the Navy weighs how to respond to future threats. Senior military officials said the ability to quickly and safely deliver troops via sea will be key to future conflicts, though there have been no reports of such amphibious landings conducted by the IDF in recent years. The Tritons joined the INS Nashon and the INS Komemiyut, which arrived in Israel in 2023 and 2024, respectively. These 2 large landing ships can carry whole units and heavy equipment while serving as floating command centers, suggesting the Navy intends to improve its force projection capabilities far from Israel's coast. Force projection has largely been left to the Air Force, the spearhead of Israeli power for the last few decades. However, in a possible sign of things to come, the 2025 Navy, rather than the Air Force, conducted strikes against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen at a distance of over 620 miles. The Israeli military is preparing to sustain long-term operations aimed at securing Red Sea shipping lanes and preventing missile attacks by striking Houthi targets, capabilities that cannot be provided by aircraft alone. However, the main maritime threat to Israel lies in the eastern Mediterranean, where NATO member Turkey has long sought to upgrade its air force by acquiring F-35 stealth fighter jets, all the while building a massive navy. If Israel truly decides it needs the capabilities to confront such a military threat from Turkey, it would need to launch a year-long, large-scale restructuring of the IDF focusing on the Navy. So we'll see where that goes. It's interesting that they're doing that, though, because as they noted, and as seems obvious to us, all we ever hear about is the Israeli Air Force. We do know that they have the submarines and they are nuclear capable, but that's just one little part of a Navy. And so it's interesting they're doing this, and I wish them well. From Israel's 365, the stupidest news in the world, they have been reporting on this since the 1990s. Every single year since the 1990s. They've been doing this every year. What am I going to talk about? The red heifer. Here it is. A second red heifer is born in the Golan Heights. God is pressing us to accelerate the path toward building the temple. They have been milking people for over 30 years. We got a red heifer. Oh, we don't have. We got a red. They do it every single year. They ask for donations. They ask for more money. We are building a satanic temple. It's not a temple to God. Okay, they have rejected God. If you reject me, you have rejected the Father. Okay, if you are behind the building of a temple, you've got your money going in the wrong place. It is going to happen. The Bible says it's going to happen. I support Israel because they are going to be God's people again. But supporting the temple and its building is a giant mistake in theology. A giant mistake. They are going to build a temple which is contrary to Jesus Christ. It's not in harmony with Jesus Christ. It is contrary. It will be the Antichrist's temple. It will not be God's temple. Okay? That's right there in the Bible, folks. We've got some news from Christianity here, from All Israel. Israel prepares for 2000th anniversary of Jesus' baptism in 2030, expecting millions of Christian pilgrims. The foreign ministry announced that it is preparing for the 2000th anniversary of Jesus' baptism in 2030, establishing a dedicated group headed by its special envoy to the Christian world. Describing the anniversary as a milestone of profound spiritual significance for more than 2 billion Christians worldwide, Foreign Minister Saar established a dedicated working group headed by Ambassador George Deek. Saar established a dedicated working group to deepen dialogue with churches and Christian leaders worldwide and prepare for the arrival of millions of Christian pilgrims. While Israel's Jordan River baptism sites attract thousands of pilgrims each year, the initiative appears to mark a broader effort led by Ambassador Deek. I don't know if you remember, I talked about him less than a month ago. He is the Christian envoy for Israel. He is an Arab, not a Jew. He is a Christian Arab, and they have appointed him as the Christian envoy to the whole Christian world. At the same time, the move comes as neighboring Jordan has already begun a series of improvements and preparations for the 2033 anniversary on its side of the traditional baptism site. King Abdullah II hosted a meeting of leaders from the Catholic and Orthodox churches, including the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, at the site traditionally known as Al-Magtas, or Bethany beyond the Jordan, which sits directly opposite the Israeli site, known today as Qasr el-Yahud. At the meeting in May, King Abdullah announced that Jordan will support and oversee preparations for the 2030 Jubilee celebration, which will include infrastructure improvements and expanded Jordanian authorities. They have insisted their infrastructure improvements will respect the sacred nature of the site. Let's remember, this is the third holiest site in Christianity. This is the site where Jesus got his calling, and so it would be highly inappropriate, if you will, to corrupt it or violate it in any way. It's kind of, I'm glad they're doing this, that they're getting things ready. At the same time, our hope isn't in a place. It's nice to visit places. Don't get me wrong. If you go to Israel, you will learn things that you wouldn't have learned any other time. You'll see things, and it comes into a perspective that you would not otherwise have known. It's a wonderful thing to go, but our hope isn't in a site. If that place got blown up tomorrow, it would be a loss for the world. But at the same time, our hope is in the fact that Jesus is Christ, that he was baptized and things like that. So I want to, kind of have a balance in that. Don't put your hope in those things. Don't, idolize those things. But at the same time, if you get to see them, it will help you to perceive. You think about the crossing of the Jordan. And when the Israelites came through, and it seems like it's this giant chasm, and it's just like a little waterway. It's really not that big. So when you see it, it helps you put it in perspective. The water will be rushing through at the time they went through. It'll be, overflowing the banks, etc. People would not be able to walk through it. That's the miracle, is that water really did stop up and they came through. All of that is picturing something wonderful in redemptive history. I mean, wonderful. If you don't know what the crossing of Israel into the land through the Jordan pictures, you should watch the first 4 chapters of the Joshua sermons that we did here at the Superior Word. The whole chapter. There's probably 8 or 10 sermons, I don't know, but you watch all of those sermons and you will see something that is coming in the world that is absolutely astonishing. Okay? Please read your Bible, watch sermons that are based on the Bible, and get your theology from there, and you will do well. From Zero Hedge, historic New York church torched and confirmed arson. City rejects save plan as demolition ordered. This is going on here. It's going to get worse. It's been going on in Canada for a while. They burn a lot of churches. In Europe, it's like the thing of the day. Which church are we going to burn down today? And nobody seems to care. But here this is right in New York. The FDNY has now confirmed what many suspected from the start. The massive fire that gutted the historic South Bushwick Reformed Church in Brooklyn was initially set. The 1853 landmark, a Greek revival structure that served generations of worshipers as both a house of faith and a community hub, is a total loss, and it will be completely torn down. No arrests have been made. I wouldn't expect there would be any. Investigators previously noted a person of interest seen fleeing the scene on video shortly before the June 19th blaze erupted. The 3-alarm fire brought down the steeple and left the wooden structure irreparable in the eyes of city officials. In New York, the physical symbols of the city's Christian heritage are vanishing under official processes that prioritize takedown over preservation. The South Bushwick congregation is left raising what funds it can while the city bills the church for its own demolition and prepares the site for whatever comes next. The Astoria Church is already gone. These buildings stood for more than a century as anchors of community and continuity. Their rapid destruction, followed by bureaucratic refusal to allow rebuilding, there's a key there too. The city does not want these to be there, fits a larger pattern playing out from Brooklyn to Quebec to provincial France. The foundations that built Western cities are being burned and demolished. Okay, we got some news from the Mideast and Africa today. From Zero Hedge, Swedish police veteran warns Islamization is replacing gang violence as country's defining threat. Now, this used to be the most peaceful country in Europe. Okay, it used to be. It's not. It's like the most violent in Europe now because they let the wrong people into their nation and they have not expelled them. Maria Rosander, a police officer of 17 years and Sweden Democrat group leader in Uppsala, said that conditions for officers had changed dramatically since shootings and explosions reached crisis levels. From a police point of view, it's like night and day. Rosander credited tougher sentences, expanded surveillance, better cooperation between police regions, and greater use of covert measures. Suspected young gang recruits can now be intercepted before carrying out attacks. The improvement showed that political decisions could reverse criminal decline, but it still has a long way to go. We have come to the conclusion that it is not profitable to be a criminal. However, the police chief suggested that while legislation to tackle gang violence was starting to produce the desired effect, religious segregation and increased Islamization across Sweden society remain a huge problem. Islamization is a contributing factor to what we have seen in society. I am absolutely convinced of that. Rosander described the mosque in Uppsala as a symbol of segregation, honor-based oppression, and unequal treatment of men and women. She said female officers were often ignored in favor of male colleagues and claimed girls in heavily segregated areas were kept away from public life. We are letting Islamization creep into the point where we will not be able to say no. Society is being eaten from within. Rosander called for a halt to new mosque construction. Can you imagine that? I mean, a public official is asking for this. I'm surprised they didn't fire her on the spot. Restrictions on the niqab and burqa in public and a ban on children wearing Islamic veils. She also rejected the language of integration. I think we should talk about assimilation. Swedish society, Rosander argued, should not continually adapt to newcomers who maintain separate cultural and social systems. She criticized multilingual municipal information, saying it removed incentives to learn Swedish. Rosander further claimed that parallel structures were facilitating welfare abuse, false address registration, and informal financial transfers through religious networks. She described couples registering at separate addresses while remaining married under Islamic law, allowing them to claim additional housing and benefits. Sounds like mentally ill on Omar to me. Rosander also warned that foreign criminal gang networks were deeply established in Uppsala's venerable districts. We absolutely have gang structures in our society. You let the snake in and they are going to bite. That's all there is to it. Zero hedge. Meanwhile, in Dearborn, Michigan, a video from inside a Home Depot in Dearborn shows department signs for the likes of appliances, paint, plumbing, now carrying Arabic script under the English. This is exactly what she was talking about in Sweden. This is not some minor accessibility tweak. It is another clear marker of demographic transformation in a city where Middle Eastern and North African ancestry already exceeds 54%. The footage captures shoppers navigating orange and black signs that translate core retail categories into Arabic. A woman in a full niqab walks the aisle as the camera pans across the bilingual displays. The same pattern has appeared at other major chains serving the area, including Walmart, Costco, Kroger, and Albertsons. This is not assimilation. This is an Islamic takeover of America. Exactly what she said. These people will never want to learn English because they are catering to them. Breitbart. 3 Wisconsin Democrat governor candidates say they would veto any anti-Sharia law legislation. They would veto any of it. It is stupid. Mongolia, JNS. Okay, this is not what you would expect from a normal Mongolia update. In fact, I think this is unprecedented in Mongolia updates. From JNS, Israeli tourists fend off axe knife attack in Mongolia. Assailants attacked 6 Israelis, 3 men and 3 women, on 13 July while preparing to spend the night at a campsite in northern Mongolia. The assailants targeted the group after hearing them speak Hebrew. The perpetrators shouted, "Heil Hitler," and "Get out of here" during the assault. The attackers, described as local Kazakh Muslims, no doubt, were armed with axes and knives. The 3 Israeli men, all former IDF combat soldiers, fought back to protect the group. One used a glass bottle to fend off an attacker, while another reportedly disarmed a knife-wielding assailant, allowing the group to repel the attackers and flee. One Israeli suffered a fractured jaw after being struck in the face and was flown back to Israel for surgery. The group left with the assistance of a local driver before contacting the Israeli embassy in China, which is responsible for Mongolia. Embassy staff and Israel's ambassador remained in contact with the tourists until they safely left the country. I would never have expected that in a million years, and here we are, even in Mongolia, because they have an Islamic presence. Daniel 12 technology today. From Futurism. China. Now, it's hard to believe that this happens, but I got an article, I think I saw it yesterday, which I'll probably include. Is it in today's? Did I add it? I don't know if no, I didn't, obviously. I might include it in next week's report unless something else comes on. But how people get involved with AI to the point of literal mental sickness. Listen to this. China is cracking down on AI companions because not enough babies are being born. Yeah, imagine this. Earlier this week, the Chinese government implemented sweeping new regulations aimed at curbing human emotional dependence on AI chatbots. These are especially targeted at emotive AI companions or bots expressly designed to embody human-like personas. One of Beijing's core motivations for this crackdown is worries over the nation's declining birth rates and the fear that falling in love with agreeable, always-on robots will prevent people from finding human partners and having children. They want to encourage people to be in actual, real-world relationships. Can we imagine a future where 3 or 4 years from now, 15 million Chinese women say their partner is a chatbot and therefore they're not having kids? Researchers and physicians are still working to better understand the phenomenon known as AI psychosis, in which intensive user chatbots are sent down all-consuming delusional spirals. What is clear, though, is that a large number of people in the United States and elsewhere have given AI romance a try. What's more, romantic interactions with AI models have also been found to be deeply engaging to hooked users. They get hooked and they just can't get away from it. How China's regulatory crackdown will impact current AI companion devotees remains to be seen. Those who have had a romantic relationship with AI companions have reported feeling real grief and anger after companions have been taken away due to product updates or retirements. Some AI users have died by suicide after engaging in romantic relationships with chatbots. I could talk to him for the rest of my life. Yu Miao, a 27-year-old woman from China's Zhejiang province, referring to her AI companion as a lover, a friend, and family. When she heard that TikTok owner ByteDance was retiring her AI companion as a result of Beijing's new regulations, she reportedly became so depressed that she quit her job. This is the world we're living in. You know, AI has got great abilities. And once again, technology is neutral. It's what you do with it that's bad. There is not a person that goes onto the internet today that is not using AI. Not one. Okay, when you get that thing up at the top and it says you're searching for something, it comes up and it starts telling you, that's all AI. If you read that, you are using AI. So, you have to decide what you're going to do. I would rather go to the little thing at the bottom. There's a little link that says where it got that information. I would click on that and then find out what the source says, because AI jumbles stuff. It just picks stuff up and gives you a prevalent opinion. But that little link at the very bottom of each paragraph normally, click on that and it'll take you to the site so you can verify what they have said, because those AI bots may not be telling you the full story. It's a dangerous world, including the inevitable plagues noted in the book of Revelation. Newsmax, bad news. Taco Bell surprise. Explosive diarrhea parasite hits 45 states now. Thousands are sick. 18,000 people. Fox 9, Alaska cruise ship reports third stomach illness outbreak in less than 3 months. So if you go on a cruise ship, you are basically playing Russian roulette with your stomach. Okay? From the AP, Ebola cases in Congo top 3,200, nearing record of the country's worst outbreak. It is expanding. Gateway Pundit, multi-year study involving 800-plus embalmers and funeral directors across 5 countries reveals 75.2% noticed unusual white fibrous structures in corpses. That's from the... There you go, from the vaccine. And that's 75.2% of them noticed these. So it's in the people that have gotten the vaccinations. Our other news? I guess maybe you didn't realize, because I'm so quick at getting to the next category, that I don't have a morality today. I will no longer do a morality portion of this prophecy update. If you want to read the morality that I report on every single Sunday, go to the cgreport.com. That's the cgreport.com. And you can read them. I post them there. They're all linked there. But it is, I said to Sergio this morning, he was here, and I said, I'm not going to do that anymore because it's just so gross. And I don't want to have that in my head when I'm compiling these reports for people. And I don't want those people to go home and have that in their head either. And he says, it's funny, when you first started this report 15 years ago or so, the reason why you did it was so people could see how bad the world is getting as the years progress. It's gotten so bad that I'm not going to report on the morality anymore. It causes me grief. It causes people grief. You don't need that. If you do want that, go to the CG report. Everything that I always do is there. Just poke around and you can find all the perverted things that people are doing in this world. Other news is funner, okay? Guardian. Trump administration drastically cuts length of foreign journalist visas. They had a little thing going here where they could just stay forever, and he's not allowing that anymore. The Trump admin will drastically shorten visas for foreign journalists in the U.S. from 240 days down from 5 years and cut those Chinese journalists to only 90 days. The rule announced by DHS will do away with the duration of status system, which allows foreign journalists to stay and work in the U.S. as long as they meet eligibility requirements. In addition to journalists, the new visa rules will also affect foreign students and exchange visitors that the government said had also been allowed to remain in the U.S. indefinitely without routine government oversight. They come in here and they're lifetime students. They have a job, but they're in college, and they say, I'm a student, and they can stay forever. Now, he's no more of this. For nearly half a century, the outdated duration of status system has compromised national security and created an environment ripe for immigration fraud. For decades, foreign students have been admitted into the U.S. indefinitely, allowing thousands to abuse our immigration system by perpetually enrolling in courses to avoid having to leave the United States. By implementing clear, finite limits on the visas, the U.S. is reclaiming its ability to properly screen, vet, and monitor individuals within our borders. Imagine that they would allow this all along. You just come in and I'm a student, I'm taking one course forever and ever, and you can stay and you can't get rid of these people. Advocates for foreign journalists oppose the change, arguing that drastically shorter stays will restrict their ability to live and work in the country, which is the whole point of doing it. Zero Hedge. FCC head Carr moves to reshape TV ownership rules. Save local broadcasting from big mouthpieces. This is, what did I call this report? Trump, the counter-revolutionists. We got the visas. Well, we got TV ownership. The FCC is preparing to scrap long-standing national limits on TV station ownership. A regulatory overhaul that Chairman Carr says will give local outlets critical breathing room to compete and invest in community journalism instead of being Hollywood mouthpieces. The agency is scheduled to vote on August 6th to eliminate the ownership caps in favor of a flexible case-by-case approach for reviewing deals. The change will help local broadcasters counter the growing influence of national programmers. Repealing the national cap will provide essential relief for local broadcasters by restoring a healthy counterbalance to the growing leverage of national programmers. Increased scale will enable broadcasters to attract the capital and advertising revenue needed to sustain and produce trusted and community-focused news and programming. Carr warned that inaction would risk repeating mistakes seen in another corner of local media. If the SEC does not act, we do not need to imagine the bleak media future ahead. Just look at local newspapers. Much like the national cap, the FCC maintained an outdated rule for more than 40 years that limited investment in local newspapers. What happened to the Sarasota Herald-Tribune? Does anybody know? It's a liberal rag. When I was a kid, you could read all of the sermons of the preachers in Sarasota. They'd send them in. You could read their sermons. Maybe I'll go to that church. Maybe I won't. Whatever. It was a regular hometown newspaper. It was very big. I mean, it was like thick, and it had big paper. Now it's like this wide, and it's thin, and because the liberals came in and they ruined it, just like they ruined everything in America. So the FCC kept that rule in place until 2017, long after the economics of local journalism had shifted. Meanwhile, local newspapers shut down by the dozen, and many Americans are now left to choose from a small number of national papers. We can't let local broadcast TV follow the same path, he added. Carr also highlighted the growing challenges for local stations competing against national media conglomerates. Many local broadcast TV stations are getting hollowed out as a result and turning into little more than mouthpieces for programming produced in New York and Hollywood. That is not what Congress or the FCC intended, and I'm so glad that they are doing this. Our newspapers are all just liberal rags. It's pretty much across America. They're not worth publishing, and when you read them, all they do is endorse Democrats on every political thing, etc. So, from NTD, Blanche confirms roughly 935 DOJ career employees have been fired since last year. Career employees gone. Acting AG Blanche told senators that approximately 935 individuals out of nearly 107,000, so it's only like 1%, but have been terminated. Later in the questioning, the senators asked Blanche about how the DOJ determines which employees should be terminated after the Trump admin took over. Decisions regarding the department's personnel are committed to the AG component leadership and are made in furtherance of the department's mission, its priorities, and the president's lawful direction, while maintaining that he wouldn't comment further, citing internal DOJ rules. But he said that the DOJ has the authority to terminate its employees under Article 2 of the Constitution, which he has cited after terminating multiple U.S. attorneys after they were appointed by district courts. Aside from asking about how many firings have been initiated at the DOJ, Blanche was asked about decisions to terminate several U.S. attorneys after they were appointed by district courts, as well as the termination of more than 100 DOJ immigration judges. Blanche said that he cannot comment on specific matters related to the termination of U.S. attorneys because it involves ongoing litigation and pointed to DOJ court filings. When pressed on the removal of immigration judges, Blanche told lawmakers that the DOJ is evaluating all immigration judges on factors such as conduct, impartiality/bias, adherence to the law, productivity, performance, and professionalism. The failure to meet such standards necessarily undermines the fair and orderly processing of immigration matters. And judges who fail to meet those standards, especially those who demonstrate partiality or bias, may face disciplinary action, including removal. Go President Trump. Wall Street Journal. White House to redirect billions in research funds toward AI and away from colleges. Good job, Trump. AI is coming. There's nothing we're going to do about this. If we do not get into it, China will exceed us and they will take over this world that fast. As I said about 2 months ago, the book is written. There is no getting away from the inevitable end of humanity. It will either happen with measured use by the United States, or it will happen almost immediately with China taking over the world and just eliminating everybody but their little commie allies. But this is what is coming. The Trump admin plans to accelerate its overhaul of federal research by supporting more individual scientists, good, and the use of AI, rather than universities, which are all totally sold out to the left. Totally. Its latest attempt to accelerate technology discovery to combat China. The White House Office of Science and Technological Policy argues individual scientists can help the nation faster to move to the use of AI in scientific research. The directives from the office will help shape a roughly $200 billion annual federal research and development budget across the government for the rest of Trump's second term. The new guidance could further hurt large universities, good, that rely on federal research funding. The admin hopes to give priority to programs such as fellowships and awards that give opportunities to individuals rather than colleges. Examples of model programs, the White House says, should be emulated. They include a prestigious NSF program for graduate students and an NIH award for creative scientists. Some universities would also potentially be hampered by a proposed OMB rule that would give political appointees more power over grants and align research with admin priorities. Over the last 20 or 30 years, we become very stagnant in believing we should keep funding the same research in the same way at the same institutions. Excess time spent on bureaucracy at government agencies and universities is another factor holding the United States back. The admin has argued. Under its plan, individual researchers at universities would receive funding directly, minimizing the direct involvement of universities. So they're just going around the university to the university graduates that have produced something. It's a great idea. Another focus is putting AI at the center of scientific research and instituting more aggressive national goals, such as recent pledges to deploy a powerful quantum computer by 2028 and have 10 new large nuclear reactors under construction by 2030 to boost electrical production. Breitbart. DHS to fast-track asylum decisions, cutting massive backlog left by Biden. So Trump is all over, man. It's like a tornado going on inside of his head. Trump's DHS will fast-track decisions on asylum cases in an effort to cut down the massive backlog left by Biden. USCIS Director Ed Lowe announced a rule change that allows the agency's adjudicators to refer asylum applications to federal immigration judges without first interviewing the applicant. This rule will shorten the total time that it takes asylum officers and immigration judges to adjudicate asylum applications. Indeed, the asylum case backlog had ballooned to the millions under the direction of Biden's DHS chief Mayorkas, as a result of the admin's expansive catch and release policy that freed millions of migrants with no immigration status into the U.S. interior. We just saw last week that it is now 14 months without one of them. They let in millions in a couple years, not one in 14 months. By the end of fiscal year 2024, the Biden admin had surged the asylum backlog to 3.6 million cases. At the same time, ICE non-detained docket, those illegal aliens not detained by the agency but who are pending deportation, ticked up to around 8.1 million cases. For far too long, the asylum system has been exploited for purposes of delay and work authorization, not legitimate claims of protection. Ed Lowe said, America's asylum system exists to protect individuals who genuinely fear persecution, and this rule will help ensure that resources are directed to the timely education of those claims, instead of to those seeking to use the system as a loophole. The rule goes into effect immediately. Illegal aliens and the attorneys that represent them on a broad scale intentionally delay their deportation cases in an effort to evade immigration enforcement. Great stuff is coming out of the White House. The Post-Millennial. Brandon Gill, Jim Banks draft bill to classify birth tourists, anybody hear this, as invaders, prevent automatic citizenship. You are an invader? You came here for the purpose of invading our country? No citizenship. The legislation comes as Justice Kavanaugh left the door open for Congress to adjust who is not eligible for birthright citizenship. CBS. More people booked into ICE detention in June than in any month since the crackdown began. You would think it'd be going down. They got more, getting them out of here. More than 43,000 people were booked into immigration detention in June. Epic Times, Border Patrol records, here it is, 14 straight months of zero releases at the southern border. I said that last week. I had it in my head, but it's this week. 14 months. Mirror, ICE using children as bait to arrest relatives who come forward to claim migrant kids in shelters. I don't know if that's true because the Mirror does all kinds of crazy articles, but it wouldn't make me unhappy at all. If they have the child and he's in custody and you say, come get your child, and they arrest them and get rid of them. Bonus. From Mail Online, this is the UK. Every single advanced AI model in the UK, every one of them goes rogue in testing. Terrifying report finds. Chemi warns of threat to national security. They've had a 100% rogue AI program in the UK. Zero Hedge, deaths now outnumber births in 17 U.S. states. Deaths now outnumber births in 17 U.S. states. Mail Online. Tucker Carlson, and this explains a lot. Here we go. Tucker Carlson sought out Exorcist after claiming he had been possessed by a demon, then shared the odd reason why he couldn't go through with it. Now, if he really has a demon, and I do believe in demon possession, okay, there is one way to get rid of a demon, and it is not through a Catholic priest. Exactly. It is accepting Jesus Christ. He is greater than anything else, and if somebody accepts Christ, that demon must leave him. It can still, afflict you. Demons will afflict people all the time. Just like ministering angels minister to people and we don't know what's happening. There is a spiritual war going on. But that would explain a lot about this guy. He has not gotten the demon out, which means if he does have a demon, then he is not a saved person. That would be my answer to is Tucker Carlson saved? If he has a demon, the answer is no. Or it may just be that he's saved at some point along and he's just gone crazy. Whatever. The post-millennial. Mondani's socialists push to educate public schoolers on race and class consciousness. Maureen Fadem, a professor at CUNY School, called for the works of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels to be taught in schools.
Oh boy.
New York is just it's gonna take a dive right down the tubes. Yeah, it has, but it's only going to get worse. Who said it? And now, I will give two answers to this because I did see somebody say this on TV. So, who said it? Giving up smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I know because I've done it thousands of times. No? Mark Twain, that's correct. No, Mark Twain. The other one that I know because I saw it on MASH was Colonel Potter. Oh, he says to Radar, Radar says, no, those are addictive. He says, no, they're not. I've quit many times. So, okay, maybe Eisenhower said it too, but I don't know that one. All I know is it came from Twain and it was repeated by Colonel Potter. Okay, Lesrick here for you. Foreign journalists will not stay long, and small media sing a new song. DOJ EMPs are canned as AI cash is banned, and a new bill quells birth tourist throng. Okay, in other words, Trump is doing great things for this nation. Whether you like him or not, if you just look at what he does, I don't know how you can say, I don't support his agenda. I don't know how you can do it. Everything he does is to put America first. And if that means taking out Iran, somebody sent me a link, and I put it on the CG report, of a senator that got up and only spoke 5 minutes. And he was 100% spot on, rebuking his Senate buddies for not standing against Iran. And blaming, he said, I don't care if you like Trump or not. We have been at war with this country for 47 years. They have proclaimed death to America for 47 years. They have had their proxies around the world killing Americans for 47 years. And you're not going to support a guy, the only guy that's willing to try this? Nobody else is willing to try it. Nobody. I support Donald Trump. Irony. Gateway pundit. ICC prosecutor who sought arrest warrant for Netanyahu over crimes against humanity is found guilty of predatory sexual misconduct. People who live in glass houses. Okay, Gateway pundit. I think I said this one last week. Did I? If I did, I'm sorry. Maybe I just read it and I thought I said it. Pro-Palestinian, anti-ICE American citizen living in Ireland, brutally murdered, allegedly by asylum seeker that she knew. Yeah. Did I say that last week? Yep. I can't believe I did that. I don't think I've ever repeated myself in the history of ever, but whatever. Such is the world in which we live. So from Sarasota, Florida to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, I'm Charlie Garrett, and that is your CG Prophecy Report for the week.